When the river blackened fully, we called the elders again. They spoke in low voices at the foot of the tree. The prayers came longer and softer. The kola nuts broken with hands suddenly shaky. The covenant was broken, they told us. Someone has sold what was not his to sell. The name Okon came like a stone. He had not been subtle. He had signed. He had smiled in the market as the money changed hands. But we were a people who hold a man before we tear him down. We waited for the proof. Okon laughed when called. He had already bought himself a small house in the town with part of the money, a place that smelled like diesel and bright lights. He would say to those who questioned him, "What harm can a little change do? Come see my store. I have bread now. Who works with paper and numbers does not move the spirit." The chiefs were split. Some stood with the elders, their eyes hollow with worry. Others, the ones who had pockets lined from Osare's bag or Okon's handshake, offered fish at the market and folded their arms. "We are moving forward," one told me, and his voice had the small arrogance of a man with new coin. Okon left for the city the night after the elders demanded an answer. He left with his wife and two little ones, stepping over the threshold like a man who expected the world to applaud his courage. He took the sound of our market with him and left us to the slow folding of our days. At first, I thought living would satisfy whatever anger the ancestors had. Maybe distance would be a slave. But a wound is not healed because the one who caught it is away. In the city, Okon found himself a man at the gate of a small company office. For a little while, he walked the office halls like someone who had time on his side. He bought new shoes and a small television, the sort of things that announce arrival. For a man who had once been a son of the soil, he learned quickly the habits of the town. But the town is a place where papers matters more than promises. And one day, over a trivial mistake, a ledger entry misplaced, a number flipped, the company let him go. A small thing, a human error. But when you have already bought the favor of men, you have fewer allies when the error is found. He complained then of misfortune. The money he had hidden away to buy a small plot in the city was taken from him by a man who claimed to be a friend. A sly trading scheme, the kind of scam that leaves a man with bills in the sky and nothing to cradle him. He pleaded with landlords and borrowed from neighbors until no one would lend. His small house smelled of damp and shame. He lost his little job for a number that did not matter in the ledger of a stranger, and without wages, the landlord opened his door and shoved out his things during a rain. His children clutched a torn blanket. He had been schooled to think he could buy his way out of anything. Now his pockets were empty, and the city's kindness had thin skin. That is when he went to people who promised to mend what money had broken. He sought pastors who spoke of prayer and prophets who said a curse could be eased with a sacrifice. The pastors smiled and listened, and the prophet, with beads and low words, asked him to return home, to return to his father's land, to cleanse the wrong with repentance. "Go home," they told him. "Make the offering." Okon tried. He sent back a man with a small bag of coins and a letter that read like contrition. He came himself a fortnight later, hollow in his eyes, unshaven, carrying nothing but a sack of promises. He returned to a village that already bore the scars of his decision. The men who had left did not return when he came. Many had put distance between their families and Obiuntan, a precaution they would later say saved them. They went to cities. They rented rooms where their children would sleep on floors, and they told themselves the city would be a shield. But distance is a poor shield against justice when the sky itself is displeased. The elders demanded that Okon restore what he had sold, that he kneel at the mbana and beg the ancestors for mercy. He tried to do it, But even a man who returns with a sack of coins cannot always buy the forgiveness of the soil. His words stumbled. The elders washed him with faces like river stones. You sold what was not yours, they said. Return it, or live with what will come. He agreed to return the money, but the land was already demarcated, with stakes and a fence. Machines had begun to bite at the soil. Contracts do not unwrite themselves like prayers. After he left the council, uneasy things multiplied. A fever took a child 2 huts down. A yam field blackened from inside. The river's fish lay belly up, like a slow, obscene harvest. People began to whisper that the ancestors were angry, and that anger takes form. The night air rounded into a strange humidity, as if the cover of the world has grown thicker and harder to breathe. And then the neighbors noticed. The communities that border Obiuntan have always been friendly in business, but wary in old grudges. When the protection that used to hum in our soil vanished, when the ordinary signs, the clean water, the easy harvest were replaced by rot and grief, the boundary that held us together felt exposed. The neighboring men watched us like farmers, eyeing a weak herd. The elders gathered in secret. They said the ancestors had withdrawn their voice from our village. The covenant is undone, one elder whispered. The line is gone. We are naked